Hi, so today's video is on why everything falls apart before it comes together. Now, this doesn't have to happen. It's just an observation that I have found to be quite common, and I'll explain why. I've noticed this show up quite a lot of times in my life where I've asked for something and it's all started to happen and I get everything I want and then it's gone. This happened in every area of my life. Like I've asked for it, I've manifested it in sometimes massive things, and something I've had is always coming very strong as well. Like it's always coming literally like everything I want, like very quickly. Like if it's money or work, it'll be like so much that I'm like, oh, don't even know what I can do with all this money, and it will look like it's going to be ongoing. And then if it's a relationship, it'll be like immense, like they'll say they want to marry me like straight off the bat. And when it's like even living, like every situation in my life has really gone like that when it's one of the big areas, right? Other things I've always found I've really manifested very naturally, like freebies, for example. Like everywhere I go, I get so many freebies. I was like, people can't give freebies away to me enough. Like be it a holiday, a dinner, like champagne. Like everywhere I go, everything seems to be free. But I've held this belief for a long, long time, and I don't have any resistance to getting freebies. Like it's just something that I've never really had resistance to. Maybe because I was born an only child, and then I went into industries like modeling, promotions, photography. And while sometimes maybe even the jobs were not that well paid, or they'd be not that regular, like there'd be so many free parties where all the amazing food was free, staying in amazing hotels for free, like flights were free. And I think it was like a gradual expectation of, things always being free. And that kind of played out in my life, that everywhere I went, I'd always get loads and loads of freebies. Even where people wouldn't charge me for things, so I've never had any resistance to that. So it's always been like a free-flowing thing. And this is kind of what happens in our life. So there'll be things like that, and we'll all have our own one. Like some people, I know people that have massive resistance to getting free stuff, but we'll all have our different things that we find difficult. Like for me, I used to find it really difficult to keep hold of like cash monies, relationships, these kind of things. But the freebies were always like, if only someone would have given me free food. I think that's the only thing missing now that I need to live for free. But yeah, so I had no resistance to that. And the resistance comes from, our childhood experience, what we were led to believe when we were growing up. Like I was probably never really like taught to have any resistance to freebies as a child. And then whereas I guess things like money, there was always more resistance that it was difficult to make, that you should, save. The pre-programs towards that were very different to me than freebies. There was always a joy with getting freebies. And I also never had there was never any desperation with freebies. I would never expect them. I would just go and then I'd get something for free, or someone would pay for something and I'd be like, wow, that's amazing, and I'd be very grateful and I'd accept it and I'd say thank you. And it really was as easy as that. And really all of our manifestations are as easy as that. Even the big things like the soul connections, like it's all law of attraction. It's just that the more resistance that we have in our energy, the more we experience not having or losing what we want. So yeah, like I've found that with the really big things that I've wanted in life, like I said, it all kind of flows in. And then I have trouble kind of keeping hold of it, because what happens is some stuff comes up. And this is the thing with law of attraction that I have found, that when you ask for something specifically that's not naturally just flowing into your life, basically you're wanting to make a change. So you're wanting to shift your energy, because the things that are flowing into your life naturally, they're just flowing in anyway. And the things that you want that you don't have, you need to change, you need to shift your perception, and you need to change something to get them, else they would be yours already. So what happens is when we ask for something that we don't have, we're basically sending a new signal out, like, I now want to experience this. And then I find what happens is you get tested, and they say, do you really want this? Because if you want this, you still have this in the way of this. And that's not necessarily like things to do. We think we have to action those things, you know, like, oh, that means, you know, I want a house, so that means that I definitely have to go and work for X number of years. Not true. There's many ways you can just live for free. Get a free house. These things that seem you can just go out there and win the lottery. There's a lot of ways that this can happen, and it doesn't have to be working hard for like 30 years to achieve this. And the same with relationships, like everything can be instant. And it's just the work is removing the blocks, and we can do that in a real life way. Like we can go about and we can slowly do things so that it's more believable that we can have this ultimate thing by taking the steps, or we can shift our energy. And I find that whenever I ask for something new, something that I've not been able to ask for before, and it's a big thing, I find that I often lose it. And in the past, what I used to do when that happened was I'd give up, and I'd be like, oh, like, and I'd project all the blame, and I'd say, oh, you know, like that happened because of something outside of me, and I don't gonna just get over it. When the truth is that it was literally just showing me why I didn't have it. It's like, yeah, you can have this, but this is going to come to you unless you change those beliefs, because you still have those belief programs running. So when you're asking for something big and it doesn't go your way, and it in fact goes completely the opposite way to what you wanted, that's not the time to give up on manifesting and law of attraction. That's when you go into the theory of the mirror work and everyone is you pushed out, and you realize that actually this is the empowering bit of it. You're like, oh, I still have this inside of me. That's meaning that I can't have this. And then you write your intentions, you reprogram, you go in and heal and work on those things, and then you go up a step. And I find like this happened to me with something massive. I don't like to talk about my personal life too much on here, but there's a particular big asset that I would think I would have to like work a lot to ever get. And it all came to me, and I found the perfect one that I wanted. I know I'm being a bit cryptic here, but I just don't like to share too much personal stuff. And I found the perfect thing that I wanted, and I lost it, and I couldn't have it. And but because, see, for me, certain things I have bigger resistance and bigger blocks to. Because this wasn't, I really wanted it, but it wasn't one of my bigger blocks. Like I wasn't so attached to it. I just let it go. You know, I was a bit disappointed, but I let it go quite gracefully. And I continued on with my search. And then what happened is another one came up that wasn't really as good. And I almost got it, but I didn't. And I lost again. And then the original thing, almost identical, like the absolute identical thing, pretty much showed up again. And it was way cheaper. And it just happened. And it's almost like I almost got it, but I had a little bit of work to do to actually get it. And I know that sounds I know that sounds a bit cryptic, but I really had to lose it, be okay with losing it, be like, well, that's fine. Like, I know I'll be okay anyway without it, even though I really wanted it. And I let all the resistance go. And yeah, I ended up having it. So it really has happened in areas of my life. Most of the big things that I've manifested, I have lost first. But the difference is that when it's like a person or it's something you're really emotionally connected to, like a job, like you end up like going on this downward spiral and losing it and saying, oh, you know, all your fears come up, and rather than work through them, you just kind of lose it, you give up, you feel like crap, like you start sending out totally different signals by saying, oh, I fear that I'm not going to get this, this is never going to come back to me, you know, and that's why that happens. And then that spirals and builds, and the negative thoughts become a lot more than the positive thoughts, and before you know it, you're like this far away from it. Whereas if you are just walking along, you get this and you lose it, but instead you don't emotionally react and you're like, okay, I almost had it, but there's a little bit more work that I need to do for that to be mine, then that's really when it can, like, magic can happen. So I just wanted to put this video out about not giving up when things completely fall apart. I find like it literally goes from like everything to like nothing. And whenever I have been okay with that nothing, and I've just like worked through the things that I'm being shown and like keep thinking positive, I've ended up getting that thing back. And even better sometimes, like it'll be cheaper, or it'll be a better person, you know, or they'll be better with me. Like every time that's happened, I've always gotten it back and better. Whereas when I've then gone, oh no, I've lost it, I've fallen apart, and I've started to make it about myself, and I've projected rather than said, okay, I still need to work on my energy. I still need to work on affirming this positively. Whenever I've fallen apart and just blamed and said, oh, I didn't get this because I'm not good enough, like maybe this thing is, you know, maybe I'm just not meant to have it, like then it's just gone like this, and it's gone further and further and further away. So I think it's really, really important that if you're working towards something you really want, you get it and you lose it, that you don't emotionally start to like make it about you not being worthy. As long as you can sort of see the lessons for what they were, and you really focus and you work on yourself as to why you lost it, and make it about you, not about it or them, then that's when everything can turn around and you can get your situation back or better. So yeah, that's my video for today. So I hope to see everyone soon.